because so many horror books and just books in general have awesome covers, this one's pretty cool. You buy them and then you read them and they're terrible. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the first chapter. Maybe not all of it, depends on how long it is, but just so you can kind of get a peek into what's inside of the book and see if it sounds like something you'd like to check out. The Long Last Call, Chapter 1. The road to hell was badly paved, a godforsaken pothole paradise near America's ass end. 1 o'clock in the a.m. and no one but Hank to care. "Ow!" he said in the driver's seat as the pickup truck's wheels clocked another harsh bounce. Green beer bottle glass clacked against tooth enamel, and a spritz of golden rolling rock splashed against his bristled cheek, dribbled down toward his denim jacket collar, the flannel shirt beneath it. "Fuck," he continued, wiping his face with his sleeve. A country boy, fair-skinned and good-looking, but troubled with a capital T. Deep blue eyes and short dark hair flying in the wind from the open window. He drank as he drove, one bottle after another. Had been doing so for hours. Was as high as he could be and still feel this goddamn low. He was no longer sure which state his vehicle occupied, nor did he really care. Hank didn't trust much in maps anymore. Truth to tell, he couldn't even trust himself. Indifferent corn stalks swayed in the breeze to either side of the darkened road. Nothing but nothing for miles around, and Hank was fine with that. The country music was sweet and slow as it poured from the dashboard radio, liquid bell-like pedal steel, floating and soaring, reverberating, ghost-like over a boom-chick-chick groove as plain as a pedestrian as life. And, of course, the music made him think about Pamela. Of course it goddamn did. It was a beautiful song for starters, and tragic, and sweet. And besides that, she was all he could think about anymore, no matter what else was going on. Which was why he had her picture on his lap, or more precisely tucked between his thighs, so he could pick it up from time to time and take a good hard look at what he had lost. He did so now, tucking the beer between his knees just before he did so, freeing up his right hand to pick her up and hold her in front of his face. In the dark, he could see the outline pretty well, but all of the details were lost. Right now, all he wanted was to look her in the eyes, and since, in real life, that was no longer possible, he figured he'd do the next best thing. So he shifted his grip on the steering wheel pinky to middle finger, freeing up index and thumb, then pinched her photo between the spares. He pulled out a smoke, lit it up, and held the lighter to Pamela's face. She flickered. There, frozen in time, the red hair, the green eyes, the lioness face. It reopened all his buried caverns of desire. He wanted his fingertips to stroll through her lush mane, slide down to the cheekbones, pull her close for one more kiss. But that was never gonna fucking happen. Never gonna fucking happen again. His madness had seen to that, and it was that madness that brought the lighter closer as he stroked the fleshless photo with the knuckles of his hand, feeling the paper instead of the skin, stoking his hopelessness hard. On the radio, a mournful voice sang, "When she left me, I was poor, didn't know what love was for, but she left me in the fields of pain." In the distance, a car was approaching. He could swimmingly see the headlights through his suddenly rushing tears. His face, as he choked, was a rictus of emotion. He didn't need to check himself in the rear-view mirror to know it, and the thought of being seen like that was almost more than he could bear. Anger flared up then, like high beams coming closer, and it was directed at nobody but himself. He was the asshole, knew that all too well, not Pam, not this driver, not anybody else. So why did he set her pretty picture on fire? He didn't even know. He really didn't have an answer. He just did it, the way he did everything else now, on impulse, bringing the lighter right up to her eyes so that they glowed for one last minute before blackening, then bursting into flames. The car was closing in on him now. They had to be clocking 50 miles per hour apiece. He could see that it was a convertible coupe and that the driver, God help him, a storm cloud of billowing red hair. In fact, the split second before the driver's head ignited, he would have sworn that it was Pam. But then he was looking at the thunderball of pluming heat, skull like a 10-pound charcoal briquette in action, atop her elegant neck, fuming yellow-black smoke that the wind hurled toward him, just as his fingers started to burn. And he went, "Yow, fuck, oh!" distracted from the vision by the hurt in his hand, tossing the flaming memorabilia out of the goddamn car window, just in time to watch the other car go past him, with no discernible flame action whatsoever. And then, as if to punctuate the movement, the vocals kicked back in, and he realized how short time was as compared to the destinations his mind provided. Because the song was wrapping up, had indeed been wrapping up the whole time, and this is what it said. "So I ask you, was I wrong? Was I the bad guy all along? And do you think I might be going insane?" The timing of the universe, God's wacky joke on us, was enough to make him laugh and shake his head through his tears, bringing him back to himself, if only for a moment. In the distance, Hank saw an ugly yellow glowing sign. He couldn't be sure if it was real, but when he blinked, it was still there, and that had to count for something. The closer he got, the clearer the words got. "Sweet thangs. Hot diggity dog." It also had a picture of a lady. A lady sported a sizable rack. Titty bar, he thought to himself. How fucking perfect is that? The parking lot was wide and made of gravel. Off on the right-hand side of the road, less than a dozen trucks and cars were parked there, pretty much evenly spread out. Either this place did shit for business, or the night was winding down. Hank wasn't sure till the moment he did it, whether he would pull in or not. But then the driveway was upon him, and he braked, then skidded in hard, fishtailing on the gravel before righting himself. There was a Chevy pickup just as shitty as his own, parked close to the road. He pulled up next to it and stopped. It had a gun rack on the back, but no guns were strapped upon it. Hank had that beat all to hell. There was a Smith & Wesson in his glove compartment. He cut the engine, pocketed the keys, and listened to the music from the club for just a minute. It was the shit they used to call techno-industrial. All bass throb, chopped power chords, and tinker toy roar. He hated that music. "Let's get it over with," he said to himself, and popped the glove compartment. It was no surprise that the song was still going when he hopped out of the truck and staggered toward the door of this shithole bar. He hoped the woman who was dancing was worthy. When he threw open the door, the sound tripled in magnitude. Evidently, the soundproofing was good. That, put together with the flashing lights against the fishbowl dark, practically took the top of his head off. He didn't even see the bouncer until the son of a bitch was right up in his face. $5 cover, said the gap-toothed mouth in the big, hard head that looked down at him now. The eyes were both large and unkind, unblinking in their sockets, more than 6 feet off the floor. Hank fished out a 20, one of the last that he had, and got change. Only then could he scope out the joint. It was dark and smoky except for the stage, which was massively mirrored and brightly lit. The bar was long, with an aging stripper and an old drunk seated down toward the end. They were carrying on, cackling like hammered hyenas, while the bartender hovered behind. The joint had something like a dozen tables, but only one was occupied. It had 3 redneck good old boys, probably 25 to 30 years old, getting played by a pink-haired stripper who was working them up good. As he slid past the bouncer, the old drunk and the strippers all smiled up at him as one, like they were hoping for something. Hank ignored them, casting only a fleeting glance at the sultry Amazon woman flinging her goodies around the stage. Her goodies were way good. That much was clear. The woman was built like Satan's own hourglass, but he needed a drink before he could even think about it. He headed toward the bar. The guy behind it was tall, ruddy, and worn, with a flint and leather face that seen way too much. He had a black Hank Williams 3 t-shirt with the sleeves torn off, and his tattoos were fading. Arms still muscled and wiry, but fighting off 50 years old flat, "What are you having?" the barkeep asked. He sounded like he grew up chomping gravel for breakfast. Hank tried to act normal, wasn't sure if it worked. His own voice, by comparison, sounded jittery, near falsetto. Double-shotted Jack with a Rolling Rock chaser. The bartender shook his head, tilted it back over his shoulder, indicating the line of beer bottles on display behind him. "If you don't see it, we ain't got it." Hank squinted at the row of bottles, distracted by the reflection of the dancer on the stage. She was boner-inducing, and that was a fact. It made him itchy and queasy all at once. Then Heineken, fuck it. And, rifling out his little wad of bills, "I need 20 in ones." The guy took the money and turned away. Hank turned as well, fully facing the stage. And that was when the madness kicked in hard. Suddenly, it was all about her nipples and the gun. The whole world had funneled down to these two things. Her nipples were large and full, only barely concealed by her bra, waggling around on breasts that were the size of cassava melons. The gun was like a second pecker, rock hard and wanting nothing more than to unload. He was dimly aware of the drink set down behind him, but the flutter of bills got his attention. He reached back without looking, eyes locked on the dancer, and came up with a wad of ones. And that was his ticket. Money always was the ticket. And after tonight, he wouldn't need it anymore. He knew that like he knew his own heartbeat, his own face, the smell of his own doom. It was time to face the music. Too bad this music sucked. Hank felt himself move toward the stage, getting closer and closer to the woman and her heat. With every step, he felt her more, as his eyes took in all the details. She was a stunning bronzed brunette with an animalistic killer body, reduced now to her bra and thong, dancing with her muscled back and swaying ass to the audience. Meanwhile, she watched herself in the mirrors, clearly turning herself on, as she stripped and teased the somnolent crowd. Hank found himself torn between laughing and crying once again. The come-on was so stupid that he hated himself for responding, but she was so fucking hot and scary, somewhere between Vanessa Del Rio, Tura Satana, and Rosario Dawson on the bodacious alpha female scale. And for a moment, she locked eyes with Hank in the mirror before turning to blow herself a kiss. As the rednecks suddenly got wind of her, turning their attention from the pale, pink-haired hottie to the force of nature on the stage, Hank felt their surge as he felt his own. It was as if they conjoined into a tribe of lemmings or a flurry of moths to the flame. But there was no fire, at least not in this moment. Just the woman doing an unbelievable spin on the metal pole, gravity-defying, and then whipping off her bra and crawling toward the rednecks who were whooping up a storm as they brandished their wands, watching this goddess slither toward them, while Hank jittered his way to the front stage, sitting down directly before the pole, waving the fan of $1 bills before him. And that got her attention. Of course it did. Like a magical perfume from an old Popeye cartoon, she practically levitated her way towards the center stage, looking Hank in the eye as if he were the only man in her world. And as he savored that pointless moment, she brought herself full up in front of him, thighs positioned to either side of his face, painted crotch and perfect belly leading up to perfect breasts. And he tossed the money up in the air so that it showered over her in something like slow-mo, strobing in the titty bar lights. Then pulled the Smith & Wesson from his jacket and put it to his temple, and blew his brains out of the left side of his head. And that was when the bartender tapped him on the shoulder, snapping him out of his own madness and back to the madness surrounding.